Morning, everybody.
Morning.
So we're just putting the plastic down on here. We're getting ready to epoxy this, and we don't want the epoxy to stick.
Yeah, so this is Brent, good friend of mine from forever. We won't even talk about how long ago we've been friends. But we used to all have race cars together back when we were stupid and young.
Yeah.
So Brent's here to help for a couple days with us. And so we've already put that plastic down, as he mentioned. What this is for is we're working on what they call a bulkhead in here. It's kind of an I-beam as well. So it's marine plywood. And the very first thing we're going to have to do is get the exact shape of this, which is hard, to cut the plywood to this exact shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this plastic then, and then we're going to put a strip of fiberglass and epoxy on this. And once that hardens up, it'll be this exact shape of the interior of this beam. And then we can lay that down on the piece of plywood and trace it. Now we'll have to do the same thing on the top piece, which is over here. And today we're going to try to get the carbon fiber and such on here. And then we'll do the same thing and get this edge. And then all we have to do after that is get the distance between the two. And we have a couple methods of doing that. One is just to put a straight edge across here, measure the distance from here to here, do the same thing on that side at the same points, and just add them together. And we have to do that because the biscuits that we have that go across here, you think you could use those because they were here, but the problem is that a few of them, this is not that exact, and a few of them are a quarter inch different maybe than the others. So we want a precise measurement because we want this to bond down onto both these surfaces. So that's what we're doing right now. You'll see more of that as we do it. But we're going to get started with that. We're going to put our first strip down. It needs to be pretty thin because this is curved, and the further out I go, the higher these outer edges get, but I want the center depth, so we need to make this pretty narrow. Well, we're trying out a silicone mixing cup today. Supposedly reusable. We'll find out if that really works or not, but we'll give it a try. And so that's our little skinny strip that we're going to put down right now. Well, Brent and Brian are cutting the carbon fiber over here that we're going to put on the top of the beam. I'm going to start sanding on it to get it ready for that. And so they've got to cut 28 diagonal pieces and 3 22 or actually 23.5 foot long pieces. So they'll chop that up while I do some sanding.
So we're just cutting these carbon fiber strips, and then these are going to lay into the cross beam that Phil is working on sanding right now. So we need about 28 of these strips cut, and then we'll do some long strips. So we got Brian and Brent here working on sanding the inside of this so that we can get that carbon fiber down here. And they're just looking for any ridges. As long as it's smooth to the touch across, it's good. Now there are a few spots like this lip underneath it here. We're not going to sand that. We're going to have to do a little bit of more fill in that spot. So, and there's a couple little tiny holes that still need some fill. So we're going to do one more round of filling in a few minutes before we do another episode of sanding, and then we'll be able to get this carbon fiber on here. But it's pretty close. Good morning. I'm here with Brian and Brent again, and it's Tuesday. And we've got 2 layers of fiberglass onto our strip, which is right here. And you can see that it's taking the shape
fairly well of the Forebeam here that we laid it out on. The problem is that we can't, it's too pliable. You can see that how easily that 2 layers bends. Now we could beat this up by putting in several more layers and get this to be stiff, and that would give us the shape that we want to trace onto the plywood. But that's not how many layers we really want to put onto this thing to be included into the Forebeam eventually. So this will still get used, but we can't continue adding those layers onto it because that's not useful for later in using it. So we're going to have to go a completely different method of getting the plywood measured for that. So what we're doing now is we labeled each one of these forms here with a letter, and then we're going a specific distance into the center of this, and we're measuring the depth here of this, and then we can plot that onto the plywood, and then we'll just use a bendable board to connect those dots. And come here and bend this for me. So we'll just bend a board to get the curve between the measurements like that, and that should get us the same thing. We had to measure these anyway because eventually we're going to have to measure the depth here and the depth up onto that other top of the Forebeam over there, and add them together to get how high this bulkhead has to be in here to cut it. So we had to measure these anyway, and now we'll just use them to get the plot of the curve as we go. So that's the new plan. New day, new plan.
We've got Brent and Brian over here sanding yesterday's final patchwork of epoxy, and once that's sanded, we'll start putting on the carbon fiber. So we sanded the inside of the Forebeam already, and you saw that a little earlier. So we're going to do a quick sand of the outside because it's too warm to do epoxy right now. We're at about 90 degrees Fahrenheit, this much in Celsius. But we can sand, so we're going to go ahead and sand the outside of this, just so might as well get it done and get it ready. So that's about all we're going to get done for today because it's just getting too warm. We'll be up to 97 degrees Fahrenheit soon. So the rest of this week it'll cool off a little bit, so we'll have a little bit more work time. But today is the last of the really hot 3 days in a row. So a little sanding and then we'll knock it off. All right, well, this is gonna get dusty anyway, so just be aware. Inside and out is now sanded on here, so yay! So tomorrow morning early when it's cool, we'll go ahead and put the carbon fiber on and finish this 6 layers on here. And we've already marked the marine plywood today for some of the measurements, but we'll have to get the rest once this carbon fiber is on here. But we'll get to cutting that pretty quickly here as well. And then we'll mate these two things and be done with it eventually. Yay! We started really early this morning and we got all of the 6 layers of carbon fiber and then peel ply onto the top of the Forebeam. So it's setting up right now, and in fact, it has set up. And so what we can do now is that we can start measuring the depths on it so that we can cut the marine plywood to create the bulkhead that goes down the center. So we're going to go ahead and measure that up right now, and then we'll get on to cutting the marine plywood. Brian is touching up the last few spots where we cut off the carbon fiber, because this time, first time we didn't do this, this time we cut the excess off while the carbon fiber and epoxy was still green. Now it was set up enough that the peel ply could be pulled back without pulling this loose, but it was also not so cured that it was hard. And so it was almost like a rubber consistency. And we just took an X-Acto knife and just sliced it off. And it just cut it clean along the edge on both sides. And so that worked out really easily. And now Brian is just a few spots where we just had a little left over. And so he's just sanding just a few spots. For the most part, it just cut right off with the X-Acto knife and no problem. All right, so we measured everything out. We checked it twice and we did find one error, which we fixed. So always measure twice. And so now we're cutting out the 3 pieces that will become the bulkhead in the Forebeam. So I'll cut them out. And I'm wearing my safety glasses, but I'm not wearing a mask right now because it's hot. And I can hold my breath for 4 minutes. Let's see, we'll check. And breathe. All right, we're doing a dry fit. We've got our bulkhead in here, just dry fitted in. And we're gonna set this on top to see if it's too tall or if it fits. Right now, Brian's preparing the edges. Because since we're gonna get these bulkhead, this single bulkhead in there, we need to make sure the 2 tops are mating properly and that there's not any excess resin left over from when we did the carbon fiber in there. So he's busy sanding that, and I'm going to shave off this. So this is the center bulkhead, and it's a little high between this point here, so I marked a black line here where we're going to need to shave that off. It's also a little high right here at the end, so I've also marked the line, so I'll just shave until those black lines are gone. So I just took off that black line. You can see it just barely a bit there left. And now we'll go ahead and give it a test fit. We've taped down a piece of double wide fiberglass like there's going to be on the top. And the bottom will be actually bonding straight to the carbon. So that's exactly the number of layers that there will be. And we just put some tape down so it'll hold it in place while we set the top on to see if it high sides now that we've sanded it somewhat. Well, test fit number 1 did not go well. It was all too high. We were riding high up there, so we've done a bunch of little small measurements and adjustments on it, and now we're going to do a test fit number 2. Okay. We're still riding up there. Yep. Good morning. We're working on the Forebeam today some more, and this is Forebeam week. And our issue is that the distance between here and the top is blind, and so it's very difficult to get a precise measurement. Now, we've taken measurements the best ways we can by putting a straight edge across down here, and then one on the top as well, and adding the 2 measurements together. You would think that would be right, but we cut the board to that, and the board's too high now. Yeah. So the first method that we used, as I just mentioned, was we just put a board across here, and then we measured up from the bottom to the bottom of this board, and we did the same on the top. We add the 2 measurements together, and that should have given us the distance here. But so much for science, because that did not come out right. We cut them to that, and it's a little high. High is good though, because we can still shave down. So the other method we did is we set this in here like so, and we just lowered the top down onto it until it met the sides here, and as it lowered down, it pushes this down and leaves it at a measurement, and then we can lift the board off and take a look at this. And when we did that, we found that the board was high. So this method did give us a little bit better accuracy of this. So today we're gonna try shaving down the center board and see if we can't get the center one right before we work on the two end boards. All right, we're at test fit number 3. We've cut down our board by our direct measurement with the tape. Which way you going? That way, 1/4 inch. That's it. And by golly, it fits! That's it, I'm going home. All I want's one success.
It's Saturday, and we're out here bright and early today. You can tell by the angle of the sun. And what we're doing is, let me give you a close-up, is we're putting plastic down inside the top section of the forebeam, and it goes all the way down there. And then we're going to be laying down 2 carbon fiber strips, one larger and then one smaller. And that's going to become the piece that we end up bonding to this later, which is why the plastic is here, because we don't want it to bond to here currently. And once we get these 2 layers to harden up and such, they will be attached. They will be attached to the top of this. So these are going to be sitting in here, and we'll attach those layers to this, put cove on each side, put glass tabbing on, and it'll become part of this. That way later, when this is bonded to the lower section, it'll have this top already on here with the cove, and all we have to do is put epoxy on top, lower the section on it. It should match up fairly accurately. So we're gonna get to this early because the temperature right now is very, very good for doing epoxy. It will not be later. Today will be about 100 degrees by about 2 p.m. But at 6 a.m. it's still plenty cool. So we're gonna get to this right now. We're gonna go ahead and get started now. So we're gonna pour epoxy down here and spread it out with some rollers. Being a curved surface, rollers are a little better for that. All right, let's get our piece on here. Okay, I have way a lot here. All right, that's good. We switched over to using this silicone cup when we ordered some more because we tested it to make sure it was going to work nicely, and it does. After the resin sets up on it, you can just squeeze it and then pop the old resin out and reuse this. So although these cost around $9 for one, in the long run it'll save us a lot of money in consumables, because we don't have to keep buying hundreds of cups, because these will last, I don't forever, but they'll last quite a few batches. All right. Okay. Next piece. Okay, I'm good.
All right.
You good?
Yep.
Drop. Right in the middle of the last layer.
Can I come my way a little?
Yep.
All right.
You good?
Yeah.
Brian, I gotta get this peel ply on. All right, so both layers are on, the peel ply is on. It all came out pretty well. So I'd show you, but my hands are full of epoxy. All right, I'll show you. I'll take my gloves off. They're ripped anyway. So this came out nicely. It's all wetted out. This is the peel ply on the edges, so we can peel it easily enough. So it's looking good. So if you remember, we have this perfect knife edge of foam coming out here for a nice entry into the water. But after all that work of making that foam come out to this nice point, we're gonna have to cut it off back here because we have to wrap basalt around this, it turns out. And we need about a 2 centimeter curve, blunt curve, in other words, to wrap that. So the way the basalt goes on, there's 2 layers that are going to come out to about here. There's 3 layers that are going to wrap around here, short layers. And then there's going to be one going over the top. So we also have to round the top of this off a little bit as well. Now this will come back to its sharp point because after we wrap the basalt and such, when we do the fairing will bring it back to the same point. So it is going to be exactly where you see it in the end. And it'll still be a sharp entry, but for now we need to take off this foam so that we can wrap the basalt around. All right, so we got this rounded off, as you can see. So that's a nice round edge now so that we can wrap that glass across. And we also sanded that. So that's ready to go now for when we do the basalt. And we've also been working over here on the bulkhead that goes inside the forebeam. And we've got it ready to go now. So we're going to go ahead and put into scarf joints to join the 3 pieces together and let that set up so that come Monday, we're ready to go ahead and put that into the bottom section of the forebeam and glass it in and all that stuff and get it inside so we can get ready to close up that whole beam soon. All right, I'm ready to rumble.
Today, I'm out here with Rebecca, who you saw in a previous video working on the boat, and that's Brian up in front of her. And we're up at Glendora, Lower Monroe Truck Road, which actually turns into a trail pretty quickly here. Doing a little mountain biking on Sunday, our day off from working on the boat. So, time to have some fun. We like this trail because it's climb all the way to the top, and then it's 8 miles back straight downhill, all the way down, just about. There's a couple tiny hills to up, but mostly down. From all the rains we've had this year, the trail's a bit beat up, meaning it's got a ruts and a couple massive canyons in the trail we have to watch out for. In fact, one of those is coming up right here. And then there's another one down here that's a sinkhole. If we fell in that, we would just disappear. That'll be right at the bottom of this hill right now. Saw it on the way up. Coming up on my rattlesnake place. I came around a turn up here, and there was a rattlesnake in the road and the trail. And I didn't want to hit him, poor thing. So I tried to go round him on his tail side into the bushes. That didn't work. I hit the bushes at about this speed. It launched me into the air. I flew over the rattlesnake. He didn't get hurt at all. And I landed in a massive pile of red ants. And I'm coated in red ants and dust. And I turn around, and I just see the tail of that rattlesnake crawling off into the woods. And I swear to God, he was giggling at me. All right, and this is lookout number 2 over San Dimas and such. The boat's over there. I gotta kind of stay in the middle of the trail in this section because there's some big boulders off in the weeds that you can't see. You don't want to hit those, because I did once. Caught one of those invisible boulders and went flying. That wasn't fun. Okay, we finished the 3rd section. This is actually the 4th in a way. This is the river, well, it's not really a river. This is the stream wash area. Very rocky, very wet at times. So we have to watch the rocks and do a lot of stream crossings. Particularly full this year, so it's a lot more water than even normal. Here's one of those crossings. There will be several more. Good day. He went the wrong way. There's one more bike coming. Back to the stream again. Sounds pretty. But that will end the Lower Monroe Truck Road portion in just a moment. Mud in the face. All right, here's the road.
Woo, 18 miles.
18 miles total. Half of that up. Say hey to the camera. Did you have a good ride?
I had a fantastic ride.
Yeah, me too.
It was a lot of ruts, but we managed to go around it at a pretty safe but fast speed.
There you go. I had a good time.
Thank you, Phil.
All righty. That's what you do on your day off, damn it.
Got most of the jumps in.
Yeah, I only missed a couple, but most of them, yeah, that was good. I got a good one off the big one, you know which one I mean.
Yeah.
And when we were going up, it's a little bit of a weird rut on the downside of it now.
Yes.
So I thought, okay, I'm gonna hit this hard, and then I can clear
the
that.
whole thing.
Anyway, so that was our ride for today. We'll be back working on the boat tomorrow morning early, where we're going to try to epoxy in that bulkhead through the Forebeam. But at least today we get to have some fun. We like fun.
We got a lot done this week, and we even had time for some fun. On Sunday, Phil went mountain biking, and I was hanging out with my best friend.
Yep. So we would like to go ahead and thank our patrons. And we really appreciate that. It keeps these videos coming. And if you like the videos, think about becoming one of our patrons. There are a lot of little benefits you get as well. In fact, we have an upcoming question and answer live session. So you could be part of that and also get your name engraved in our table. Terry's working on that, and I'm hoping to see that table pretty soon. But I'd also like to thank all of you who watched our video. We do appreciate the fact that you take the time and spend a little time with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And don't forget to like and subscribe and click on the bell icon to be notified of our next video.
Right, and next week we will get to completely finishing that Forebeam. We're going to put that bulkhead through the center, get it all epoxied in. We're going to do that on Monday. And then we'll close it up on Tuesday, and maybe Wednesday we'll start putting on some carbon fiber on the outside. And certainly by Saturday have that thing done so that we get on to other things. And we have a day scheduled now that we're going to try and put the basalt onto this hull right here. So that's coming up probably, I would say 2 weeks. So one more week to finish up that Forebeam, and then the next week we're going to get to this. So come join us and see all the fun. So we'll see you next week.
Bye.